penalties, but Ghana Highway Authority dismisses the claims.
We paid all the fines we received, so we don't have any outstanding fine to pay.
So if they say they are paid everything, I don't know what they are talking about. If they have been paying fines, let them produce receipts or evidence that they've been paying fines.
Minority in Parliament describes new Mary deal as scandalous, inflated, and an attempt by government to create loot and share. They want government to immediately abrogate the deal. We'll get to hear from them.
Coming up later in sports, a member of the executive committee of the Ghana Football Association believes the liaison team that has been put in place to help reform football in Ghana is overstepping its boundaries. I'll share details with you much later when I join you with sports.
And Information Minister Mustafa Hamid takes on Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta over his targeting comments on the free SHS as government vows to go ahead with the implementation of the double-track system. We'll get to hear from them and also go live to the Jubilee House as the President prepares to swear in the new EC Chair, Madam Jean Mensah. All that and more here on Newsnight. You may want to join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp. It's 0244 340 437. I am MFR Paul.
My name is Evans Mensah. And of course, we start with that breaking news story that is still unfolding, developing story that the Bank of Ghana put out in just a little over an hour ago. And in essence, 5 banks have gone under tonight, and they will be taken over by an entirely new financial institution called Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. Now, the 5 banks that the Bank of Ghana today detailed are the Unibank. It also included Royal Bank, and also in there was Construction Bank, Beige Bank, as well as the Sovereign Bank. Now, these 5 banks will now be taken over by Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. Now, the Bank of Ghana also went into some great detail, telling us what these banks did that led to this particular development. For example, in the case of Royal Bank, the Bank of Ghana says an on-site examination conducted by the bank revealed a number of irregularities. Its non-performing loans constitute 78.8% of total loans granted, owing to poor credit risk and liquidity risk management controls. A number of the bank's transactions totaling 161 million were entered into with shareholders, related and connected parties. In the case of Sovereign Bank Limited, as part of the Bank of Ghana's investigations into the failure of the Capital Bank Limited, it emerged that Sovereign Bank's license was obtained by false pretenses through the use of suspicious and non-existent capital. The bank is insolvent and unable to meet daily liquidity obligations falling due. Liquidity support granted so far to the bank amounts to 21 million as at July 31st, 2018. Now, Beige Bank and Construction Bank were each granted provisional licenses in 2016 and launched in 2017. Subsequent investigations conducted by the Bank of Ghana revealed that the banking licenses were obtained under false pretenses through the use of suspicious and non-existent capital. I just been joined on the telephone line by a banking consultant, Nana to Champon. Nana, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Oh, thank you.
Surprised at these revelations you heard today at the press conference?
Not surprised, but happy that some certainty is being brought into the industry. But the going-ons were unnerving people. People are being jittery. And now it's a good news that the government has stepped in, issued bonds to the tune of 5.6 billion to save these 5 banks.
And let's deal with some of the key issues that have come up. Let's start with how the new bank, the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, how would it sustain itself?
Well, as I've just said, they've already been given the 450 million minimum capital. So they add to the existing 6 to become 7. Then the bonds that have been issued are going to clean the toxic asset that may be within the bank. Their headquarters is going to be situated in the Sovereign Bank building at airport. 5 temporary CEOs have been appointed. The group one is Daniel Addo, I think is a formerly of First Atlantic Bank. Then you have the likes of Keswa Brown of Banking College, France, who has been an advisor at Sovereign Bank, and so on, to head them temporarily. And the operation is such that no depositor stands to lose their deposit, which is the expected good news, as happened in UT and Capital Bank. There's going to be minimum redundancies because all the branches are to operate as normal. So if you're a Unibank bank account holder or Royal Bank, you still go to your branch as normal. In the long term, nobody knows yet what's going to happen. But in the short term, depositors' funds are protected through this exercise. So if you are a member of staff, you go to work as normal from tomorrow, and then from there.
You mentioned that the minimum capital requirement has been given already to the new bank to work with, and obviously the 5.67 billion the government has also, the bond that the government has issued, will also going to assist in the banks stay afloat. The question then is, who pays for that loan that we are taking?
You and I.
But that's why not the directors, shareholders of these 5 banks?
Well, the shareholders have money, haven't they? So that will me if another thing is slapped on them. But that doesn't mean that investigations have ceased. Investigations are ongoing, and in the 2 cases that the governor alleged that they obtained capital under false pretenses. I'm not a lawyer. You are the lawyer. You can draw the inferences from there. So with shareholders, if you bring money into an institution that has collapsed, then where is your money? Because your money has been used up, as happened in the case of UT and Capital. Shareholders were left with nothing because their liabilities exceeded their assets. So that's what happens. If you set up a business and you incur more liabilities than what you own, then if it collapses, not only are you losing your capital, but you also have to find money to pay the other liabilities that you owe. In this case, you and I have been asked to bail them out as taxpayers. So taxpayers' money is being used in the issuance of the bonds to assist.
Nana, if you read what the Bank of Ghana says and how some of the banks operated, let's take, for example, in the case of Unibank, the central bank governor details some serious withdrawals from the bank from shareholders. In fact, I want to read that because it puts it in accurate context. Now, it says Unibank and Royal Bank were identified during the AQR update in 2016 exercise to be significantly undercapitalized. It says that the official administrator appointed by Unibank in March has found that the bank is beyond rehabilitation. Shareholders, related and connected parties had taken amounts totaling 3.7 billion, which were neither granted through the normal credit delivery processes nor reported as part of the bank's loan portfolio. In addition, amounts totaling 1.6 billion had been granted to shareholders, related and connected parties in the form of loans and advances without due process and in breach of relevant provisions of the Act. Altogether, shareholders, related and connected parties of Unibank had taken out an amount of 5.3 billion, constituting 75% of total assets of the bank. The question then is, they've taken out all these monies if indeed what the Bank of Ghana says is true, and yet you and I will have to pay for this particular mess they've created.
I'm afraid so. I'm afraid so for now, but that doesn't mean that whilst investigation is ongoing, if any of the parties involved is found culpable, for instance, you took a loan without and you haven't paid the loan, it doesn't mean you're not going to chase them, or they will still chase them. It's like when you have bad debts on your books, you write them off, but that doesn't stop you chasing the debtors. So I'm sure if the investigators, come up with anything, the Yoko has been working on this issue. Quite a number of them have been invited, not only once, but twice or three times to answer certain queries. So it's an ongoing process. But for now, it's the depositors' money which is crucial. Unfortunately, they've all been ring-fenced now. Every depositor's money is there. They can go and withdraw it if they want or leave it on investment, and it will yield returns for them. So I think that's why I started by saying the happy news is, or the good news is that some certainty is being brought into the market.
And
so the news you gave this morning was very unsettling.
And staying on Unibank,
Yes.
the official administrator was given
Yes.
6 months to try and turn it around. It's 4 months into their work. And so didn't the Bank of Ghana go ahead of themselves?
No. Evans, it says that they have up to 6 months, which means they could have taken 1 month to complete their investigation, or they could have asked for an extension for another 6 months to do the investigation. But they've been able to do it within record time, within 6 months, because on 23rd of July, when the governor spoke at the MPC briefing, he did confirm that KPMG has submitted their report, and they have on record all the findings that they came up with. And that's what informed later the decision to annul the shares in some of ADB, you remember? So I think, doing it earlier or within a shorter period of time is not really, rather they should be commended for finishing a 6-month job within 4 months.
And so on Unibank, I've seen a document in which the shareholders had written to the official administrator saying that they are willing to contribute an amount of 3.5 billion in terms of assets provided by shareholders, which were valued at 4.4 billion, worth a forced sale value of about 3.52 billion to be liquidated or leveraged for injecting liquidity into the bank. And that had not been, was the official liquidator did not factor that into its report?
Well, unfortunately, you and I are not privy to that report. It's the regulator who has that report. So factually, it's difficult for us to interrogate that. But having said that, the regulator who has the report is saying that what they found rendered that bank, the word that they use, inoperable, that they cannot operate. So therefore, it meant that taxpayers had to come in. Now, if the investors or the shareholders have the 3.6 billion or whatever to pump in, whether they have it or not, the regulator will be chasing them for that money anyway. Because if it's a loan which has been taken, then that loan should be paid back. So it's good that they have been owned up to it. And so the regulator will be looking forward to receiving that money, and it will reduce the tax liability on you and I as taxpayers. Yeah,
but the question, it begs the question: if they'll chase them in a way for it, then why didn't they take it ahead and instead of dissolving the bank?
From the governor's account, the whole is bigger than 3.9 or 3.6, whatever the figure that you quoted. So therefore, if the whole in there was 4.6, as the governor confirmed, and you are bringing 3.6 or 3.9, you haven't plugged the whole hole. So therefore, as it stands, liabilities far exceed assets. So if you've got some of those liabilities on you as loans, then bring them and then it will plug some of the whole, but not all.
For these shareholders, their assets that are already in, will they be given back to them? Obviously, or the Bank of Ghana or the new bank will take over the assets and the deposits as well, or everything else?
The new bank, through the government, is taking over all assets and liabilities. And in their case, liabilities exceed assets. So if liabilities exceed assets, then what assets is there to take over? You get the point, Ivan. So therefore, since their liabilities exceed their assets, if they bring any of the any money to defray some of their liabilities, all it's doing will be to make the gap smaller rather than bigger. You see, the gap now is 4.6 billion. Then you said you've got 3.6 to bring. Fine. So when you bring it, you still got 1 billion left.
Yes.
So, I mean, these are the issues that people have to understand. It's not that when you bring those, then you put the bank in insolvency. At the moment, their assets are less than their liabilities.
The Bank of Ghana in this statement admits that at least in the case of two of the banks, they obtained their banking license, let's put it bluntly, through fraud. Through fraudulent means, false pretenses.
So I didn't say.
Well, okay. False pretenses. Now, isn't that an admission? Because the Bank of Ghana gave the license, and it's an admission that the Bank of Ghana itself failed.
Then they will hold any Bank of Ghana official, and the governor made it clear on 23rd of July. That any Bank of Ghana official who is found culpable will face the law. And already some Bank of Ghana officials have been invited and attended IOCO. So that's one, we have to take the governor's word for it. He said nobody is going to be spared if anybody played any role, however, tangential in the sense, and the investigators or in the IOCO, which is doing CID work at the moment, find that you are culpable, then you have to face the law.
And it's likely that even current or former workers of BOG who may have been involved in this, may be part of the prosecution or investigations, maybe caught in the web.
Well, again, you are saying there, and as I said, all I know are the facts that have been given by the governor, and the facts are that if any BOG staff, present or past, is found culpable in, for instance, granting a certificate under false pretenses, and you say it's a criminal offense, then they will have to face the law.
And finally, are there more banks in possible distress that we might see go under before 31st December?
I can't give a straight answer to a straight question in this instance. Banking is a confidence trick, Evans. And in that, we have to repose confidence in the system. Anything that dissipates the confidence destroys the system. So depositors' money is always at the core. That you are a shareholder, you decide to set up a bank. At all times, your money you put in is far less than other people's money. If you take the last survey of Bank of Ghana, the capital structure is 13% to 87%, which means shareholders had 13% equity in there against 87% other people's money, that is depositors' money. So the objective of regulation in the banking sector is always to protect the depositors. So in this case, if they do the investigation, whatever they find, people are culpable, the governor has said they will follow the due process. Nobody can be accused without being given the chance to respond. So if they do the investigation and it turns out that there's some culpability somewhere, then a due process will be followed and people will be given a fair chance to defend themselves, because as it stands now, it's only an allegation.
Nana Tochampo, I'm grateful that you joined us with those insights. Clearly understands what has happened today. In fact, he was at the press conference. Great to know all the details that he's put out. I'm grateful that he joined us. So listening to News 9 on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, if you're just joining us, the 5 banks, you might be a customer of any of these banks. These banks currently their licenses have been revoked and they cease to operate. These are Sovereign Bank, Unibank, Beige Bank, Construction Bank, and also Royal Bank. Now, these are the 5 banks in question. Now, what do you need to know about what has happened tonight? We're going to break it down for you in quick fire questions. George Yafe is here. George, first question: what has happened to Unibank Ghana Limited, Royal Bank Bank Limited, Beige Bank Limited, Sovereign Bank Limited, and Construction Bank Limited?
So, Evans, what we have here is that the Bank of Ghana has revoked banking licenses of the 5 banks and has appointed a receiver to take over their assets and liabilities. Deposits as well as special assets as well as liabilities of these banks have been acquired and assumed by the new consolidated bank, that is Ghana Limited. Now, all the deposits of the 5 banks are safe and have been transferred to the consolidated bank. Customers can carry out their own business as usual in respective banks, which are now become branches of the consolidated bank. All the staff of the banks will become staff of Consolidated Bank, and board of directors as shareholders of these banks no longer have roles. So it means that with the new bank that has been created, all those directors and all those things, they cease to operate as in having entities in this particular bank.
Who is the receiver?
What we understand is KPMG, and this institution has been appointed to go after maybe the liabilities and all those things and the assets of this bank in terms of trying to recover these loans, those toxic assets, how it can be contained, how it can be worked on to ensure that we get the best out of it.
Mr. Ni Amano Dodu of KPMG has been appointed by the Bank of Ghana as a receiver of the 5 banks to take control and possession of their assets and liabilities. What happens to the old shareholders of the banks?
Well, we understand that shareholders will be entitled to any remaining assets of their respective banks after the creditors have left with the receivership and have been settled by the receiver. So what we understand here is that what would be left by the receiver in terms of settling all those creditors, they will return that to these shareholders.
Okay. And who are the shareholders of Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited?
That'll be the government of Ghana. They will have 100% stake in this new entity.
Why did government decide to establish a new bank for this purpose?
Well, we understand that the Banks and the Specialized Taking Institution Act of 2016 allows the government of Ghana to establish what we call a bridge bank for the purpose of acquiring some or all the assets, liabilities of a failed bank, if necessary, to maintain the financial stability. Government decision is to establish the consolidated bank is in the best interest of depositors as well as the financial system as a whole. It ensures that depositors and other systemic liabilities are transferred to a clean bank to allow depositors and other customers to continue to have access to critical banking services. It also ensures that the banking sector maintains a strong indigenous Ghanaian presence.
What does this step mean for the official administration under which Unibank was put some months ago?
Well, we also understand the official administration has been terminated based on the report of the official administrator. The Bank of Ghana has determined that Unibank cannot be rehabilitated, let me say. The Bank of Ghana has therefore revoked Unibank's universal banking license.
Does this mean that all the banks are now owned and managed by the newly created bank?
Well, Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited would actually assume selected assets and liabilities of the 5 banks. So they are just taking on the good assets, whilst the receiver would work on the toxic assets.
What will happen to the assets and liabilities not transferred to Consolidated Bank?
Well, all the deposits and other key liabilities have been transferred into this Consolidated Bank. Now, the few assets that are considered as good have also been transferred to the Consolidated Bank. Now, the bad assets are not assumed by this bank and will be managed by the receiver, even as we said, KPMG. When they realize all those assets, they'll look at how to pay off the creditors.
Does government of Ghana intend to own Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited forever?
Well, even so, we understand the government of Ghana intends to offload its shares in the Consolidated Bank of Ghana Limited to, over a period, they're actually going to work on it, and government intends to actually give it to Ghanaians, ordinary Ghanaians who might be interested in this bank.
And we understand the government simply will offload its shares, and there's a stipulated time here. It's within a period of 2 years.
You're right on
the
that
government intends to give ordinary Ghanaians the opportunity to acquire these shares. So government will run the bank for 2 years, and then at the end of 2 years, hand the bank over to ordinary Ghanaians
you're looking
to buy
at some
shares.
IPOs here, public offer for Ghanaians, you and I, to take advantage in owning this bank event.
Okay. And what would it have been possible to find another solution other than revoking the license of the 5 banks? And this is a key question, and that questions have been asked about. Why did government go this route?
Unibank, Royal, Beige were deeply insolvent, meaning that their liabilities exceeded their assets, putting them in a position not to be able to meet their obligations as they will fall due. Construction Sovereign Bank obtained their banking license at the false pretense through the use of suspicious and non-existent capital, which has resulted in a situation where the reported capital is inaccessible to actually the Bank of Ghana. Now, to revoke the licenses of Unibank, Royal, Beige, as well as Sovereign Bank and Construction Bank, because of that development, Bank of Ghana had to take this action.
Now, and if you're wondering, if the Bank of Ghana had any other option, well, the answer to that, according to the Bank of Ghana itself, is that it simply had explored all the other options and no other feasible options were available. And the key question: will any depositors lose their funds? The categorical answer there is no.
No.
You will not lose your funds. Another key additional question: what will happen to borrowers? I'm talking about loan customers of the banks. And the answer is that borrowers of the 5 banks are required to comply with all the terms of the loans, all advances they obtain from their respective banks. They are to service them in line with instructions to be received from receiver and or the consolidated bank. And so that's a point there. If you've taken a loan, continue to pay. Question: must I continue making loan payments? Yes, you must.
Yeah.
When and where will deposits be paid?
So deposits will be available at all the Unibank, Royal Bank, Sovereign Bank, Construction Bank, the Beige Bank brand locations would be rebranded as Consolidated Bank locations. So you're still allowed to deal with those individual institutions that arrangement was there with respect to the loan that you've taken.
So if you're wondering whether all branch facilities will be open for payment tomorrow, the answer is yes. All of Unibank, Royal Bank, Construction Bank, Sovereign Bank, and Beige Bank branches and head offices will be opened as branches of Consolidated Bank.
Yeah.
And not the individual banks. Depositors can continue banking operations as normal and conduct business at these locations. And the key question also becomes of what will happen to employees of all these banks. All staff of these banks will become staff of Consolidated Bank. No layoffs yet. George, thank you very much. So listen to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. And you want to share your thoughts with us here on Joy 99.7 FM on the issues. You want to go live and speak to Emmanuel Arthur, Emmanuel Akron, who is a financial consultant based in Canada. A quick question to you, Mr. Akron. Thank you for your time here on News 9. We've lost him on the line there. I want to quickly move on to some other key stories that have come up. We'll return to this story shortly, because obviously it's a key story that we're following in this today as far as a major news item is concerned. More on this shortly. We'll be bringing you the profiles of the new managers of the bank that has been created by government today.
Also in other stories, the government is taking hard measures against the Ghana Bauxite Company over their involvement in possible transfer pricing. Lands and Natural Resources Minister John Peter Amewu reviewed that as part of mechanisms to address the tax avoidance by the Chinese corporation, government will not be granting the company permit to mine new concessions in their bid to increase production. Now, this follows a Joy News investigation which revealed the company has failed to pay penalty charges of up to $90 million. The company has also failed to pay taxes for most of the time it's has been operating in the country. Today, Mr. Amewu visited the site of the company and warned management of the bauxite company to adhere to the terms of the contract or risk sanctions.
It's also interesting and a news to me that you have even applied for some other permits. I mean, what is the justification? Why do you want to apply for permit to increase production when you are making losses? What kind of business is that? I mean, what is driving you to increase production? Where we're sitting currently is a hill. You start putting in necessary permits. Of course, that I can tell you will not be granted. I must be frank with you. Maybe this is not the right forum, but I have to tell you. You would not get that because there is no motivations for government to keep encouraging you when you are running losses. What is your output in terms of daily production figures? You're talking about 40,000. So in a month, you are making about 1.2 million metric tons. And you are hauling about 800 metric tons. And then we've also had several problems about our hauling problems. Those I will not discuss because it doesn't fall directly within my purview. The Ministry of Transport, maybe you will have to be talking to in terms of your, overloading, the damages that you are causing to the roads and all this, and you are not declaring profit for government based on which we will get some dividends on our current participation. Those developments are not fine, and we are not happy this morning at all. And as a mining company, you should begin to advise yourself, this agreement you sign, go back and study this agreement strictly and make sure you adhere with the terms. I immediately want to have engagement with your management regarding your sister company's transaction. It's here, it's in the law. The law says it's clear. It's one of the clauses that if you want to have a sister company relationship, there must be some form of understanding with government. You don't go on your own established prices to the sister company and come back to us and tell us. We are aware that some of those prices don't, reveal the market prices, and it's not fair and justifiable to us. On that note, we advise you strictly to obey this particular terms of agreement. But whatever the terms are and what the mandates also reserve for government, we were going to study it, and at the appropriate time, I think we will advise you.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister John Peter Amewu, now General Manager of the Ghana Bauxite Company, J.K. Fang, however, says they've paid all penalties for overloading their haulage trucks. He has also been explaining why they've not been able to declare profits to government.
We paid all the fines we received, so we don't have any outstanding fine to pay.
When did you pay?
Once a while, so it's
the last time you paid?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
So is it a way to say that the highway authority is lying, maybe accusing you wrongly?
No, I don't know the source of information, but what I can tell you is that all the fines that we have been paid off. Okay.
Now, the minister is also saying that you export the bauxite to your sister company without due process, shortchanging Ghana government. What do you say to that?
Well, I think we believe that if you look at the prices over the years, from after we took over, we increased the price has been improved. From in the 20s to 30 to 40s. So that is what I can tell you. Yeah, prices has to do a lot of factors. For example, the loading condition is very key. If you can load big vessels, okay, the sea freight is cheaper, right? So you can say higher prices, FOB prices. If the loading condition is poor, you can load on small vessels. That means the sea freight is high. Then you have to discount your bauxite price to compensate the high sea freight. If you want to compete in the same market, it's very simple. Like cassava, if you want to sell to Accra, if they have the same distance, but one you can use rail, one you can only use truck. So the one you can use rail, they can sell at higher price because the rail is very cheap.
Explain you increasing production and yet running at a loss?
Everybody with some basic economics knowledge should acknowledge that by increasing your production, you lower your unit cost, right? So that is one way to reduce cost.
You heard that J.K. Fang, he's the General Manager of the Ghana Bauxite Company, but Axel Waite Director at the Ghana Highway Authority, Nicholas Brown, is dismissing the claims.
It cannot be correct if we are basing that on the skills you have. You see, what is happening is that we are the head office. We have private operators at the station. They intercept the truck and weigh them. The data we have is data we receive from the weigh bridge station. So if any truck enters the weigh bridge station, it is weighed, and then the weight is determined based on which we know whether they have to pay a fine or not. So if a truck does not enter the weigh bridge station, we have no information as to whether it's overloaded, and for that matter, any penalty to be paid or not. I hope that that point is clear. Now you have information showing trucks that left the premises of bauxite company overloaded, but did not enter our weighbridge station. We don't have that information.
Okay.
The only information we have is trucks that entered our yard. They were weighed, whether overloaded or not. Then we know whether they owe us fines. And the fines they pay on the spot. So it's not something they can owe us. If you don't pay, you don't move. Trick is that when they know they're overloaded, they find means of avoiding the weighbridge station. That has been our problem all this while.
When Ghana Bauxite says they've paid all penalties, it suggests that there is an amount to it. In your books, what do you have?
Oh, this figure is it's not a figure I can give you offhand. It's a figure we need to go and check our records, how much fines they have paid over the period. But it's not something they pay. The thing is that you will not even arrest their truck, how much more to pay you the fine. But if, of course, if one truck is intercepted, you pay the fine. So I can't say they don't pay anything at all. But not the monies you have uncovered or the amount you have found from your work. So if they say they have paid us everything, I don't know what they are talking about. If they have been paying fines, let them produce receipts or evidence that they've been paying fines. And for that matter, all the overloading are legitimate, sort of.
Nicholas Brown there is the Axle-Weight Director at the Ghana Highway Authority. We can now take some of your messages that you've sent via WhatsApp on 0244 340 437. This one here says, good evening. Some of these banks are located in the same vicinity. Therefore, branding them consolidated banks close to each other will not be possible. So some workers will definitely lose their jobs. God save the sinking banking sector. That's from Elulu in Alajo. This one from Kofi Sedu says, collapsing 5 banks into what is called Consolidated Bank of Ghana Limited by the NPP government is a testimony of how incompetent the government is in managing this country. Where is the Financial Security Council that the NPP party promised these supposed distressed banks prior to the 2016 general elections? And this one also says the entire body of banking supervision should be fired. One thing the governor mustn't compromise on. And this one from Berry Makubaji says it's such an interesting coincidence that government assigns keep claiming the economy is expanding and booming, yet banks keep folding up.
Well, more on that story, and if you are a customer or an employee of the banks affected, why don't you send us a WhatsApp 0244 340 437. I want to hear from customers and employees of these banks. What do you make of the decision of the central bank to dissolve and revoke the licenses of these 5 banks and hand their management over to an entirely new financial institution? And how does that affect you as a customer and an employee? Details of a lot of what you're telling us shortly after the break. Plus, we have the details about the individuals in charge of this new bank. We'll tell you who they are and what their background is. And we'll also connect to our Emmanuel Akron, who is a financial consultant based in the U.S., as we interrogate the legal basis of the decision taking by the central bank today. Stay with us.
Okay, Gracie, for the grand prize, answer this final question. Which of these electronic services does Bond offer for your convenience? A. Internet banking. B. Inward remittances. C. ATM services via GH Link. D. Mobile money services. E. All the above and more.
E. All the above and more.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner! For your convenience, Bond provides you with internet banking, inward remittances, ATM services via GH Link, and mobile money services. Bond is dedicated to providing you with all the banking solutions you require so you can attain your dreams. Bond gives you the appropriate financial services, investment products, and advice. Contact Bond on 0303-214-444 or visit Bond at www.bond.com.gh. Bond. Your success, our passion.
Don't come me. Hey, 10 pesos. 10 pesos. Vodafone is 10 years old and is giving you an anniversary gift of 10 times bonus and 10 pesos call rate across networks. Browse for 10 pesos per megabyte. Call Vodafone or any other network at the same rate of 10 pesos per minute. That's not all. Share your scratch card with 2 more people the Kikimi style, and the 3 of you will each enjoy 10 times the value of your card. Dial *135# to subscribe. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready? Hey, Yinchi, I noticed that all the national stadia in Ghana have lasted for decades.
Oh, yes. But do you also know that the concrete bridges are also decades old?
Yes.
Only one company in Ghana can give you that guarantee, and that is Gasem.
Cement that guarantees smooth finishing of plastering.
That is the Gasem Super Rapid 32.5R. If you want to have strong blocks for any form of construction, use Gasem Super Strong 42.5R. For your time-tested bridges like the Adome, multi-story buildings, highways like the motorway, then it is Gasem Extra 42.5N.
And the good news is, all these cement products are made right here in Ghana.
Gasem, 3 cement grades, unique quality. Gasem, the nation builder.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, don't worry, Grandpa. There are still 5 ripe and 15 unripe mangoes on the tree.
That's my boy.
Grandpa, it's still 1.2 kilograms of rice in the container.
My boy. And how much credit did I spend last week?
Well, you spent 5 CDs on calls, 2 megabytes on data, and you sent 5 SMS.
We are the only network that tells you exactly what you have spent and when you spent it. Dial *545# to access your statement on MTN everywhere you go.
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Akusipa, you're still listening to this budget reading. Share, Massa, say budget no sisa. Now so what's sabi? Share, be say me share my personal budget. Now I know we dia we dream pension ho. Hey, we dia 1 man 1 pension plan oh. Share, jaunia. Me what am how much now? Sign up to my own pension plan with United Pension Trustees and gain access to higher interest, additional benefits such as savings account and flexible contributions. We dia pension papa pow. Secure your future by signing on to my own pension from United Pension Trustees. Go to your MTN Momo menu by dialing *170#. Select option 9 for pensions and insurance. Then option 1 for my own pension. Then you select option 1 to enroll and follow the prompts. Make daily, weekly, and monthly contributions to build your wealth with United Pension Trustees. For further inquiries, call our customer service center on 0242 436 880 or 0302 208 042. My own pension. Pension Papa.
That is a sweet sound of excellence. That is the sound from Mac. Yes, Mac Ghana is the #1 distributor of the world's best quality Isuzu and Chevrolet vehicles in Ghana. Isuzu trucks from 1.5 tons to heavy-duty vehicles. Isuzu buses from 15 to 33 seaters, double and single cabin pickup, available in automatic and manual transmissions. We also stock a wide range of Chevy cars from SUVs, sedans, and small cars, fully loaded with exquisite specifications. All our range of vehicles stand out due to its high fuel efficiency, safety, luxury, spacious interior, world-class delivery, and after-sales servicing. What's more, we offer flexible payment terms to meet your pockets. Mark Ghana is a sole distributor for Isuzu trucks and pickups, as well as all range of Chevrolet cars in Ghana. Call us on 0302-813-919 in Accra or 0242-039-550 in Kumasi. Visit our website markghana.com. Mark Ghana, with you for the long run.
You're welcome back. So we'll be going live to the Jubilee House shortly as the President prepares to swear in Madam Jean Mensah as a new EC chair. But earlier, the President has been speaking, and he's saying that the state will not hesitate to prosecute corrupt judges of the court if allegation of wrongdoing is established against them. According to him, despite expose by investigative journalist Anasa Remiyawanas on judicial corruption, perception among Ghanaians that justice is for the rich and powerful is still very high. He was speaking whilst was swearing in 7 High Court judges.
I'm sure I'm not the only one who, despite the expose of the celebrated Ghanaian journalist Anas Adeniyi Anas into judicial corruption, continues to hear of perceived acts of corruption in the delivery of justice, especially at the High Court. This cannot and must not be allowed to continue. And any judge found to be misconducting himself or herself should know that he or she will face the full rigors of the law. Let me use this occasion to repeat that the dispensation of justice requires that application of the laws of the land must occur in the hallowed words of the judicial oath, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. That is, without recourse to the political, religious, or ethnic affiliation of any person the object of justice. When a citizen falls foul of the law, any citizen, high or low, that citizen must be dealt with accordingly. And the law enforcement agencies, including you, our new judges, must ensure that this is done. That is the true meaning of the concept of equality before the law.
You heard that President Akufo-Addo will go live to the Jubilee House shortly as everything is ready to swear in Madam Jean Mensah as the EC chair together with the other deputies. But it appears suggestions by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta that parents who have the means should be able to pay their children's fees at the SHS level has angered many of his colleagues in government. Ms. Ofori-Atta suggested last week that as part of measures to cure the challenges of the free SHS, the policy should be targeted at persons with genuine need and not to be made to benefit everyone. Now, these comments did not sit well with some members of government. Deputy Education Minister Yahweh Duchum told Joy News the Finance Minister's comments do not reflect the views of Cabinet. Now, we're hearing that the Information Minister Mustafa Hamid also took it a step further in an interaction with some journalists in Tamale. Listen.
Dr. Duchum, I don't even think we should labor the point. We don't need to labor the point. The person whose vision we are all driving is the vision of the President of the Republic of Ghana. And the President of the Republic of Ghana's vision is that every child who goes to secondary school should go to secondary school for free. The Finance Minister's opinion does not stand in the face of the President's vision. So forget it. It's not going to happen. The Finance Minister doesn't have a locus. I beg, finish. His opinion is dead.
He can't take that to cabinet and win.
He can't. It's not even in his bosom to bring an educational matter to cabinet. It's only the education minister who can. So he can only go and lobby the education minister to come to cabinet. And there is no cabinet decision that must go contrary to the MPP manifesto. Finish. If we go into another election and we want to revise the manifesto, that's another matter. But now, the 2016 manifesto says that we are implementing free senior high school for rich children and for poor children. That's what it shall be. Bam.
Well, on the issue of politicians, making political capital out of education, Nagrat has some suggestions. We'll get to hear from them shortly, but President Akufo-Addo has directed public universities to begin urgent preparations to absorb the large numbers expected to enter the tertiary institutions in 2 years when the first batch of the free senior high school beneficiaries would have completed. For him, the free SHS has become a permanent feature and urged universities to scale up resources to absorb the numbers.
I urge you, Madam Chancellor, and all heads of our tertiary institutions to begin making adequate preparations towards this and future years. The free senior high school policy will be a permanent feature of our educational architecture. We cannot be caught of God. And as the saying goes, and I quote, the best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today, unquote. I assure you of government's steadfast commitment and continued support to the University of Ghana and indeed to all other universities in the country.
You heard that President Akufo-Addo. Now, NAGRAT is tonight raising some concerns about the implementation of the double-track education policy. Among others, they are cautioning political parties and their operators to desist from making education promises on their platforms and leave education policies to the technocrats and professionals. That was contained in a communique issued a while ago, outlining some concerns about the double-track policy to be implemented in the next academic year. And they continue in their conclusion of that communique. They are actually saying that the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service, that their attempt to pursue this program will overburden the teacher. They are also saying that we will therefore have no option than advise our members to work according to their conscience. Before we go to the Jubilee House, let's join Baba Tando with the latest from the world of sports.
Right, so George, I was telling me a while ago that for the Joy Sports Invitational on 1st of September, George, you said you want to be which player?
Mercy.
Where?
Mercy.
First of all, there's no R in his name. It's Messi. But Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have embargoes on their image and their names.
I'll go for Aubameyang.
God have mercy on Messi.
Yeah.
All right, we shall see about that. All right, so that's Lukaku, Evans Mensah, Lukaku, and
Evans Lukaku
Aubameyang of Arsenal, you know.
Okay, and MFA.
MFA Olele.
MFA Olele. MFA Olele.
He'll be a goalkeeper.
All right, so catch us with more on the Sports Invitational Just Sports Invitational coming up on the 1st of September. But tomorrow on the Super Morning Show with George Ajo Jr. With the Sports Center, you get more. But let's talk about a member of the Executive Committee of the Ghana Football Association, Winfred Kweku Osei. Now, he believes the liaison team that has been put in place to help reform football in Ghana is likely to fail. The liaison team, led by businessman Dr. Kofi Amwa, has written to the Ghana League Clubs Association to come up with some ideas to help in the reformation of football locally. Now, according to Winfred Kweku Osei, the liaison team's mandate does not include anything on local football, hence their potential inability to help solve the current impasse.
I am even surprised that that appointment was made by FIFA, in the sense that you don't bring or create a structure that will not be able to deal with the issues on the ground. Looking at how germane the issues were, the question is the liaison committee that is supposed to deal with only international matters be able to resolve the domestic issues involved? Why would you implement a system that will only concern itself with the external environment, leaving the internal environment, when the issue has to do with domestic wranglings? It doesn't add up. If they had been given mandate to also involve themselves in domestic issues, that would have been a different thing altogether. It would have dissolved the executive committee ab initio, and it would have taken a form of a normalization committee. But this particular structure, I've never seen it anywhere, and I don't think it can resolve the issues that is confronting Ghana.
There's more on the sports page on myjoyonline.com, but MFR, I can't wait to see you shoot the penalty.
Don't worry, I told you won't be disappointed at all.
All right.
So listen to News Now here on Joy 99.7 FM. Of course, let's return to our big story in the last couple of hours. That is the decision to revoke the licenses of five banks. And George Affe is here. I quickly want to run you through what we know about the new management of the bank that has been formed, the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited. In fact, the chief executive officer of the new bank that we know and has gotten approval from the Bank of Ghana is Mr. Daniel Addo. George, what do you know about Mr. Daniel Addo?
He's worked with UBA, he's worked with First Atlantic Bank. He's played a lot of role in trade finance and all those things, and that's more of play a supporting role to most of these MDs in trying to build these banks. UBA did a great work there in terms of improving the financials as well. The same for First Atlantic Bank as well, even. Yeah.
George, I need to interrupt you because there's some developing story and want to go live now to the Jubilee House, where the president is currently addressing a gathering there where he will shortly swear in the new EC chairperson.
Mr. Amadou Sule and Mrs. Georgino Pukwamankwa,
on grounds of stated misconduct and incompetence, as found by the committee set up by the Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Kufu, to investigate petitions leveled against them. The processes that led to their removal were in strict compliance with the Constitution of the Republic. They were initiated by employees of the Electoral Commission and by an ordinary citizen with no affiliation to government or the ruling party. This whole process, which resulted in the removal from office of the three persons, was an instance of the rule of law at work. Neither my party nor I had any hand in the proceedings. Our only interest is to have an electoral commission that organizes credible, transparent elections. We do not want electoral victory handed to us by officials of the Electoral Commission. We want electoral victories handed to us by the people of Ghana. You, Madam Chair, and your two deputies have come to office at a time when there's considerable anxiety in the nation about the work of the Commission. It is the quality of your work that will reassure the Ghanaian people that the democratic system of government that they have chosen for their governance will be properly nurtured by an electoral system that allows their voice to be plainly and loudly heard. It is no secret that I have spent much of my adult life fighting for the establishment of democracy and human rights in this country. And I have always fought for and advocated for a credible electoral process in Ghana. In emphasizing the importance and credibility of elections, it must be pointed out that the count, the collation, the declaration of results cannot and should not be more important than the sacred God-given right of a citizen casting his or her ballot. I've said it before, and I'll repeat it. Elections are about those who cast the vote, not those who count, not those who supervise, not those who transmit, and not those who declare. The heart of the democratic process is giving effect to the choices made by those who cast the vote. The four persons I've sworn in a few minutes ago as chairperson, deputy chairperson, and member of the Electoral Commission are persons I am confident will bring integrity, professionalism, and independence and fairness of mind to the discharge of their duties. They have been carefully selected, and indeed, the Council of State, in preferring its advice in its letter dated the 26th of July 2018,